for coming on a Thursday night to hear a little bit more about the Washington Semester Program. My name's Julia, and I'm an admissions advisor for the program. And if you don't know anything about WSP, we are an experiential learning program that brings students from universities around the country and around the world to DC for a semester to take classes with us and to complete an internship while they're here. And we're lucky to be joined by a current student, Chase Wallace, who attends Emory University as a political science major, and who's here in DC interning on Capitol Hill in the Senate. So we're going to hear a little bit more about his time in the program. And then at the end of the session, if you all have any questions for Chase or for me, then we're happy to take them, or you can write them in the chat during the session if you'd like. So the first thing I want to do is ask you a little bit about why you chose WSP over other study away programs. Obviously, you could have gone abroad or you could have done another DC experience, but you chose the Washington Semester Program. So, what brought you to Washington, DC in the first place?
Well, I'll tell you what, when weighing the options for where to go abroad, there was no better place for me thinking about than Washington, D.C., even though that's not technically abroad. I visited D.C. for the first time 2 years ago. My summer, my freshman year, was extremely blown away by the city, fell in love with it immediately. And just felt like this was the place to go if I was going to go anywhere. Obviously, my semesters at school are very important to me. I get a lot out of them, but there was enough to the American University program in particular that really drew my interest. Not just that it's an internship, which I needed some professional experience, but that the seminars that go along with it are so immersive in the area. And because I was interested in kind of learning through this area, I figured it was a better way to do it than going somewhere abroad and visiting these places, not in an educational way, kind of just as a tourist. But in this program, I've been able to visit, these amazing buildings with a backbone of an agenda, curriculum, learning about something in sequence. That combination has been amazing, and better than I expected, actually. Even for how amazing that it was marketed, it was even better in person. So.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I guess I've never really thought of it that way, that you are, going to visiting institutions that a lot of people consider tourist sites. But when you come as, a political science major or someone who wants to go into politics or someone who wants to do work in DC, you get to combine something that's a fun tourist site, maybe historic, informational, into something that'll help, hopefully help you work towards your goals down the line. So thinking about the internship that you have at one of the biggest tourist sites in the United States, the US Senate in Capitol Hill, if anyone here doesn't know, the way that the process works for landing an internship, is that as soon as students enter the program, they immediately start meeting with our internship advisors, kind of going over places they should send applications to, going over application materials, and then students can use a variety of tools to help land their internship. So some students might use our resources, including an internship database or a virtual internship fair. Other students might apply to sites directly, or get an internship through like personal connections. So, what was your process of landing an internship like, including working with our internship advisor, Karen?
Yeah, so I'll say the second part of that statement is kind of encapsulates the entirety of looking for an internship was working with Karen. Karen was kind of the primary way that I found a lot of things. The story behind it is I got notified of the program pretty late. I remember you came to Emory, Julia, around late September, no, late October, early November. So by the time I had decided on Washington semester program and started applying, a lot of my internships for the spring that I was intending to apply for were closed. There were some public defense jobs I wanted that weren't open anymore. And at that point, yeah, some of the traditional ways of finding internships, like the sites and the various other like LinkedIn, weren't as robust for what I needed. So in that moment, I turned to Karen, who's the internship advisor among a group of them, to help just find something. And they every day over winter break were sending emails about this this office is open, this position is open. And that literally, I was able to then pick and choose from the emails without going any further than my inbox. That they were putting in so much effort to giving me these uh, options in front of my eyes. So after that, it was just about applying to the ones they sent me, and from that, I landed the internship. So when I heard that there were internship advisors, I didn't know it was to that degree where they would actually like be with you, giving you the primary stream of information and internship opportunities, that they were above and beyond what I expected of that. I mean, it was incredible. I feel like I almost was handed the internship on a silver platter. So it was
That's
really
not
great.
true. You earned it. But yeah, so your internship came from one of our emails just about the available internships at
Yes,
any point. I didn't realize
absolutely.
that. Yeah, and that's actually something that a lot of students think. There are, of course, lots of internships in DC with sites or applications that close really early, especially particularly competitive internships. But a lot of Hill offices have shockingly late deadlines. So
Mm.
speaking of your time on Capitol Hill, what have you done at your internship? I think this is definitely an internship that a lot of prospective students are interested in. It's one of the most popular internship sites for our students. What are some things that you've learned through your time in the Senate?
Oh man, so many. I first of all have just learned that you learn a lot in a lot of different ways. The first thing is professionalism. You learn a lot about professionalism. It's like an internship is like an office job, but it has so much more weight and gravity to it than an office job. You in a sense, what I do in my position, a lot of interns are the same way. You answer the senator's phone calls, all of the phone calls coming in from the outside. You answer, or the physical mail that comes into the office. You go through those and write down what the people are saying, and pass that along. Or there's another piece of it that I'll mention later, but you learn not just about inter office politics, but how to be absolutely professional in the face of sometimes difficult um, things that happen that come your way, whether it's somebody on the phone who's disgruntled, or a difficult piece of mail, or something that happens in the office, or a national event, because a job like this, it's affected by the nation and the world and what's going on. So you can have ups and downs that kind of track with what's happening in the nation. So I've learned, number one, professionalism. I think it's an invaluable experience to see how much punctuality matters, how much working hard matters, even in menial tasks. You get noticed by being genuine and keeping your head down and doing the work well, and that is just abundantly clear in a place where there's a lot of performative. I would call performative interns, people who are trying to climb as fast as possible, who view these relationships and tasks as transactional, like, well, I'm going to work for so long and I expect a promotion after that. It's more about establishing your character and about your work ethic and what people know about you and know you personally. So it's a lot to do with that. The second thing is making people feel heard is so important, for anything in life. I think it's been especially noteworthy that somebody will call on the phone with this long rant about something happening in the country, or a lot of things happening in the country, and they'll be almost screaming. And I'll just be writing down what they say, and at the end of what they're talking about, they'll kind of wind down and say, okay, I'm done. Like, kind of dejected sounding. And then what I do is I've read back to them what they said. So you touched on this issue, this issue, this issue. You said this. And the change that happens when somebody hears what they said repeated back to them, it's incredible. It's like it would make you make you feel like all that they wanted was to be listened to. They didn't
Yeah.
want the things to be fixed. They do want that, but they don't expect it. They rather what helps them in the moment is to feel listened to. So I think in your relationships, in your workplaces, in your job, your anywhere you are at your schools, feeling listened to and feeling heard for other people is such an important and crucial thing for relationships. And I wouldn't have known that to such an experiential firsthand degree if I didn't have this job. It's a one of a kind type of experience you get from answering calls like that.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the hill always feels it probably feels very esoteric to a lot of people. Like out of touch and what's even going on over there. And really the internship that you have is giving you so much exposure to what people actually think and how that's driving the policy that's being made on the hill, which is really amazing. Um, a lot of times students who work in that space and then across a lot of our internships in DC have this kind of moment where they're like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I got to do that." Like if someone works at a nonprofit, I just planned an event for 500 people. That was amazing. Or if someone on Capitol Hill meets someone they've always admired. Has any moment like that happened to you yet in your internship? I know we're not all the way through the semester, but it's sort of like, wow, I'm really in DC doing this job that I've been wanting to do moment.
Yeah, I've had a few of those. I think the most I feel that is when I see people. So, for instance, I've been to a few hearings. Part of my internship responsibilities catalog is related to hearings, which is great. They make us, they expect us to go to some hearings, which some offices don't do. But I was sitting, in the back right of a House hearing about appropriations, and the door next to me on my right opens and somebody brushes past my knee. I look up and it's Speaker Mike Johnson, and he's
Wow.
walking in with it, on his phone. He's with his aide, whatever. And he's a lot shorter in person than you would think. He's got a powdered face because for the TV that he's not super shiny. And it was just like, wow, like it's not so much about like support or not support. It's like this person is usually a figment of people's like TV lives. They see him on a
Yeah.
screen, they see him doing stuff, they see all these headlines with his face, but he's a real guy. He's walking like a real person through the room. I mean, same as happened with Ted Cruz. I bumped into him in the hallway. I was once hauling around a cart full of goodie bags for my senator because he had a lunch planned for the rest of the senators in his caucus, and I wheel it into the elevator, and there are people across from me, and I don't see who they are immediately, and there's a lady who asks, are these snacks free? And I look up, and it's Elizabeth Warren,
Oh my
like
gosh.
looking at me questioningly. I'm like, totally starstruck. I respond because this is, this is a Republican luncheon, right? So I respond like, I don't even say, how do you do, Miss Warren, or anything. I say, unfortunately, ma'am, these snacks are only for Republican senators. And she went, they're only for Republican senators. Are you kidding me? And I was at my floor, so I said, if it was my decision, I'd give them to everyone. Hope you have a good day, and I scooted out of there as fast as I could. And later that day, I was telling my scheduler about this, or this one of the schedulers in our office, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that's what the senator was talking about this afternoon." And I was like, he was talking about like what happened between me and Miss Warren. So apparently Elizabeth Warren had walked up to my senator and said, "What's the deal with the snacks that we aren't getting?" And they had a good laugh over it. So it turned out that my little goof was an instance, a reason for good jovial workplace banter instead
Yeah.
of a massive breakdown in inter-party relations.
The
Um, so
straw that broke the camel's back.
that's right. So things like that. I mean, seeing people has been huge. I think walking into the rotunda every time I take a tour. I mean, that building in your background right now, Julia. Like I know it from the outside well. And the first time I saw it on the inside, I was starstruck, and it has not gone away. That's the other
Hmm.
part of my job that I do is I take people on tours, and that's my favorite part because I see people face to face. I talk to them. I help them explore all this history that I'm so nerdy about and excited about. And just every time I walk in there and I say, "Wow, it's my job to show people around this capital," and I know more about it now because I need to for the tour to be able to tour people. And it's such a cool location. It's the best office building ever for so many reasons, but just the people and the place are huge.
Well, that all sounds amazing. I mean, rubbing shoulders with all of those people, it sounds like you acquitted yourself very well with the Warren confrontation. So you represented the program well. I want to, since we're getting closer to 7, I want to talk more about the seminars, which you mentioned at the beginning. These Washington semester program seminars, we offer usually about 6 to 7 seminars a semester, and they're often based in going on site, or they're always based in going on site visits around DC and hearing from guest speakers. So you're supposed to be very out and about in the city as opposed to a traditional lecture class. And the courses range from topics in international affairs to domestic topics, US presidency, US public policy. There's a criminal legal systems course and a global business course. So which seminars are you enrolled in with the Washington Semester Program, and what might a typical day in a seminar look like?
Yeah. So I am right now enrolled in the U.S. presidency, like you mentioned, focusing on the office of the presidency. It's a very interesting time to be studying that right now. You can tell we've got like a, a case study right now going on, so it's cool. And then number two is criminal legal systems, which is about criminal policy, mass incarceration in the U.S. I chose that because I want to be a public defender and be a lawyer. That's my career goal. And
Hmm.
I'll tell you what, even with how amazing the Senate internship is, I've almost gotten more out of the criminal policy class than anything else because we have I no joke, we've talked to I think every side of the criminal justice diamond, all of the different people involved. We've talked with formerly incarcerated individuals. We've gone into a jail and talked with currently incarcerated individuals. We've talked with a prosecutor in Virginia, Arlington Commonwealth. We've talked with a prosecutor on the federal circuit. We've talked with a public defender on the federal circuit. We've talked with a judge on the federal circuit. We have talked with the police. We have talked with supervision services. We've talked with just, I mean, more than I can even think of. People who've been deported after being incarcerated. We've gotten such a broad range of perspectives. It's incredibly impressive that our professor was able to put that all together. But for me, so informative. It's actually informing what I'm going to try to pursue for my honors thesis next year if I get accepted for it, is to approach the different facets of who makes the most change in the criminal justice system, who's the best positioned to make that change. And I could never have imagined that much insight could have come from that seminar. And it really is. I mean, that's as hands on as you get. You're in the jail with folks, or you're in the prosecutor's office, or you're in the courtroom as somebody is getting sentenced or resentenced. I mean, that to me, I had never had that kind of experience before, and it was just huge for me to have that. And for the U.S. presidency, it's no less impressive. We've had Bill Clinton's former speechwriter come and talk to us in class. We've had former congressman and now current advisor on technology and I think foreign policy matters. Um, and again, a huge spectrum of people, so much more hands-on than I could have ever imagined. And the program has so many connections with these people that these professors can just bring them in, and it's just an incredibly intentional, curated experience for us that I've really taken advantage of, I think.
Yeah, yeah. The criminal justice course is the one that I always thought if I was a student, I would want to take this one because I've heard that from students. You just see it's such a comprehensive overview of our US system. And I think you make a good point about how in your internship, even if you love what you're doing, you're only, sort of doing one thing and being in one place and meeting a similar group of people. And I do think our seminars expose you obviously to a lot of different places and to a lot of different people. And even within the topic, it's so varied and taking advantage, I think, of what DC has to offer. Have you had a favorite? You mentioned so many really cool sounding site visits or guest speakers. Has there been a favorite day for you in one of these seminars?
Oh, in the seminars, I think the day that we were in the courtroom with Judge Faruqi is his name, Faruqui. He's sometimes in the news. He's a federal circuit judge, and just seeing how he talked to a defendant like the defendant was his son, saying, "Hey, listen, I'm giving you a chance here. This program is going to help you. You just need to focus up, do it, do the right thing, and it was incredible to see that. I think the presidency class talking with Bill Clinton's speechwriter was awesome. And then visiting the jail was I would say it was an uncomfortable experience because
Hmm.
you're going into the box and you say goodbye to these prisoners, like see you later, but you won't see them later because they're in the jail.
Yeah.
But it's things like that. It's not necessarily comfortable, but it teaches you a lot, and it makes you realize, well, the fact that I get to walk around every day free outside of bars is something I take for granted every day, and that kind of
Yeah.
perspective you can't get any other way. And you didn't ask about this, but can I say my favorite moment from the internship as well?
Yes, of course.
So it was when my I had just started taking tours. It was actually my I had or doing tours. So my first one had just finished, and my parents had actually flown in to visit me in DC, and they came to the Capitol, and I took them on a tour, and they were just blown away. They loved it. The fact that we had visited for the first time 2 years ago, and now I'm taking them on a tour, that was amazing. And then connecting with that, there was a group from my old school, very small school in Colorado where I'm from, 14 kids in a high school senior class, and they came to the Capitol. They heard that I was here. My parents coordinated with their parents. They came to the office. I was able to, the senator walked in right at the right time for them to meet him, to shake his hand, to talk
Wow.
to him. Then I took them around the Capitol, and you could just see on their faces, so much like joy and like, wow, this person came from my school and is now doing these things, and yeah, I it was immensely humbling for me too, just to get that. So those are my favorite two things.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, your family must have been so proud. That's really incredible. And the fact that they got to come to the office in addition to just doing the regular tour is so special.
Yes.
The last kind of bucket I want to talk about before we get to the final couple of questions is what life in DC is like. So many of our students live in downtown DC in downtown apartment buildings. Some students choose to live on AU's campus, others choose to live in independent housing in DC. But all of them should hopefully be centrally enough located within the city to be able to take advantage of a lot of the fun things that go on here. Every student gets a U-Pass, which is a card for unlimited metro and bus rides around the city. So what is living in DC like for you? And is there anything that you came in with that you were dying to do that you've gotten to check off your bucket list?
It's a great question. So I'm one of the few that lives on the AU campus.
Hmm.
Although I would recommend for people who want to have a meal plan, there's an amazing dining hall here, multiple dining halls. There's a Qdoba here that you can scan with your meal card that gives you an actual Qdoba bowl. It's not like a Mickey Mouse Qdoba bowl. It's an actual like meal. I think I was looking forward to the public transportation here because it's so good that you actually look forward to it. You hear about the DC Metro all the time. It's been so easy to go on, so accessible, and that U Pass that you mentioned, I think it was $165, and I probably used $500 worth in the first week. I mean, it's such a good deal. You're getting so much back from that. I have absolutely still connected with the people who are living in apartments in the more central DC area. Every Friday we try to get pizza at this Wise Guy Pizza. It's called, really good pizza. We've hung out a lot. I actually went with a friend the other night to he found these tickets. I don't know how he found them. It was at the it was Project Hail Mary, the new movie that came out
Yeah.
that is awesome, and I'm sure you all have heard of it because it's awesome. And but the night before it was supposed to open officially on a Friday, we got tickets for Thursday to see it on the IMAX screen at the Air and Space Museum, that IMAX theater that they have inside the museum. So we walked into the Air and Space Museum. We saw Project Hail Mary. Awesome experience. So cool.
Yeah.
Best thing ever. I hugged my friend very very tightly for getting those tickets. Just incredible. And visiting the museums, visiting the restaurants. I did a lot of that with my parents. I saw a live show at the Anthem Theater by the Wharf. And there's so much to do that I haven't done yet, that I hope to do. There's plenty of that to be had.
That sounds amazing. I haven't done that yet, the air and space thing, but it sounds like yeah, I have a
Oh,
strong recommendation.
oh yeah.
And yes, I'm happy to hear that you're taking advantage of everything that the city has to offer with live music. Of course, you're from Atlanta, which is more of a real city than a lot of our students are from. But I
Well,
do,
I think DC is a different type of area and city. It's very unique in and of itself. It's such a close knit environment because it's only like 750,000 people total. So it's wonderful in a lot of other ways. I think DC is my favorite city, even coming from Atlanta.
oh my gosh. Well, my last couple of questions. One is maybe you feel like you've already covered this by talking about your internship favorite moment. I was going to ask if you had a favorite memory from the program so far. I know that it's been,
Mm.
once again, we're not at the end of it, but is there anything you would want to share?
I've covered a lot of the best ones. I think the one I haven't covered was the first moment showing up to DC, coming up to the mall, up the escalator from the metro, and realizing I'm here. That's the Washington Monument. I'm going to be here for the next 3 months, working here, turning around, seeing the Capitol building, saying that's my office building for the next 3 months. You know
Yeah.
that was a particularly striking moment. But I think the times with family and friends, the tour with my parents, the movie with my good friend,
Yeah.
um, those were really spectacular and things I'll remember for a long time. Another thing was, from the internship, was actually talking with the senator himself. He actually invited the interns. Not all senators do this, but he invited the interns in for a little 10 to 15-minute meeting while he was eating his breakfast because he's got no other time to have meetings like that. And we just got to pick his brain on what he thinks about his job, how he views representation, whether as a delegate or as a trustee, like how he gets, insight from his constituents to make decisions and make calls that he needs to. Um, that and so many smaller interactions with the senator throughout the semester, because he walks in the door, I shake his hand or I say good morning, boss, or things like that. Have just been such an illuminating look into how he carries himself, into how he professionally treats people, even when he's got innumerable things to do. That has been really huge and impactful to be that close to somebody like that.
Yeah. Great. So, well, my final question before we go to any audience questions is if you're able to speak generally about this, what would you say this program's impact has been on you, either personally or professionally, kind of as you move forward into your future plans?
Yeah. So it's taught me to be that I need to clean up my professionalism. I need to be always upping my game in that regard. I mean, there's a level of professionalism that you learn at school, and then there's a level that you learn in the workplace, and especially in somewhere like the Capitol, where there is a high expectation, for professionalism, and that goes for a lot of the internships other students have, whether it be any sort of like what do you call it? Not advising. Anyway, just a wide variety of things. You learn how to be a professional, and that's so huge. Well, I'm going to law school. Hopefully, that's the plan. And what people say is, you need to take a gap year to get professional experience for law school. And I say, this program can almost, stand in as that. You could probably continue your track as usual and get that professional experience from this because it's intensive. It's 3 days a week. You're actually at a job site. So it's taught me that. I think personally, it's shown me that I can, have really high energy for a period of time and then have low energy for another period of time and kind of work with those things to still make the best of those experiences, to
Yeah.
still maintain friendships and connections with people. One of the big things in DC is connections, of course. It's a big networking town, although I hate that word. It's a lot of people meeting, and that can drain you if you're an introvert or someone who needs alone time. So it's given me better ability in that regard, and also taught me what I need to work on and continue working on. So I don't know. That was a long-winded way of
No,
saying, but
that's great.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lifestyle adjustment. So I think you kind of have to figure out how to do it. One of the students who I did one of these sessions with one time said that his mom told him the program turned him from a boy into a man because he had to learn how to be a working person while also, maintaining schoolwork and kind of living this new life. So I definitely think that that has a big impact there. Um, Before we get to audience questions, I just want to quickly say that we have a couple of deadlines coming up for applications. The summer application deadline is going to be March 31st if you're interested in our summer program. And then our fall program deadline will be May 15th. We always encourage students to apply as early as possible just because the more time you have for the internship search, the better and the less stressed you might be, as Chase knows from a winter break stress, it sounds like. And then we do have scholarships, and if anyone has questions about the application process, then they can also ask. But I will stop the share and then see if anyone has any questions.
And also, I never got to say thank you all so much for being here. This is a great first step to this program, and I'm glad that you're getting involved this early and you know doing correcting the problem the mistake I made, which was not getting involved early. So, yes,
Okay.
Dad, how do you balance diving into internship work life while having fun and experiencing DC? I think it's a lot about just for me. Okay, I'll be honest. I'm not the biggest socialite. I'm not usually aware of a lot of what's going on. Kind of had the general like going out doing things. I rely on my friends for that. So the really big thing is you get so many close connections with the Washington semester program students around you that you meet in orientation. And you can, for me, I rely on them to kind of say, "Hey, we're doing this thing," and I say, "Okay, I'm coming along." Maintaining those friendships is huge. And I think if you invest time in those friends that you meet in the Washington semester program and at your internship, that provides those moments of real fun and doing things around DC. I'm still figuring out how to balance those two. I won't say I've got it down pat. I think I work too hard and I have fun too hard. I guess I don't know. I That's part of the learning process is figuring out where that balance is and but I short answer is I rely on my friends who have made at the Washington semester program group. That was an earful, Deb. Thank you for humoring me.
Okay. If no one else has any questions, please feel free to reach out. Oh, here we go. Wait a second. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is a question. Oh, Linda, I recognize your name, so I'll be in touch with you regarding your question after the um, session is over. Um, it was an application question. So if no one else has any
Yeah,
questions for
you don't want to
Chase,
get answers to that from me.
if anyone has questions for Chase afterwards, then not to volunteer you, but I'm sure you'd be very happy to get back to them with questions about the program. Please feel free to reach out to me and I'll send my email in the chat if you have any follow-up questions after this session. But thank you so much for taking time, like I said, on a Thursday night to join. And thank you especially to Chase, for coming and sharing your experiences in the program. And I hope you keep having a great time.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming, and I just popped my email down there as well. Please feel free to email me about anything and everything. And thank you again for being here. Have a great night.
Thank you all.